Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. So firstly, a double congratulations is in order. Firstly, for Bryan Mbeumo winning Player of the Month for October. Well deserved as well. I think he's been absolutely outstanding for us since he came in. Yeah, he's such a talented player, isn't it? Like he literally makes me make sex noises when I watch him, and his link-up play with Ahmad down that right-hand side as well is something to behold. And congratulations to Bryan Mbeumo winning Premier League Player of the Month for October. But the double congratulations comes with Mr. Ruben Amorim as well, winning Manager of the Month for October. What an absolute crazy turn of events, going from on the verge and, you know, all the media reports around him being sacked and losing his job to then winning Manager of the Month. What an unbelievable turnaround. So congratulations to both Bryan Mbeumo and Ruben Amorim, Manager of the Month and Player of the Month, respectively, for October. And hopefully this can continue as well. Hopefully, because that means that we're doing well and we're performing on the pitch and we're getting results and bits as well. So smash a like on the video if you agree that Ruben Amorim and Bryan Mbeumo deserve Player and Manager of the Month for October. What a turn of events. That's madness, isn't it? Like, it was only a few weeks ago, I remember doing all the videos around he's going to get sacked, and the reports were about Gareth Southgate coming in and all that absolute waffle that came out. International break. Sir Jim comes out and says absolutely not, and radio silence since. And since then, you know, what a run of results we've had as well. Obviously, the Forest one is annoying. It's still a point away from home, though. I just hope we can continue. If we can get 3 points tomorrow against Tottenham, then I think this block of games from the international break to the upcoming international break, if you get 10 points out of that run of games, then I think that's a massive step in the right direction for us. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now let's go through a little bit of transfer news. So this is coming out from Dean Jones, saying that Manchester United will not force signings in January if they do not feel it makes a difference to the overall vision of their team build and long-term ambitions. Man United will explore the central midfield market in January, but we have reported how there is fear that their top midfield options are not going to be available in January. And while other options such as Morten Hjulman and Conor Gallagher could become considerations for that area of the pitch, it will depend on what is at stake. So what I think he means by what is at stake is if we're challenging for Champions League, or if we're not, or if we're starting to fall off and we need that midfielder to maybe get us back in contention for European football, then maybe they would go for something like that. But it goes on to say the fact United have a pretty easy schedule this season means there is less worry about minute overloads. The club do not want to miss out on top targets just for the sake of making a stopgap signing in the January window. If the likes of Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson are gettable in the summer and no one impactful can be signed in the winter, then that will make a difference to how they finish the campaign. It is a possibility United wait it out. So what he's effectively alluding to, and it's a fair and an obvious thing as well, is that if our top targets are not available, then they are not going to go for stopgap signings. And we've heard that before. We heard that directly from Ruben Amorim. I brought it into a video the other day. Fabrizio Romano was saying the same thing as well. They are not going to go for stopgap signings in January. If one of their top targets is available, then yes, they might push that deal. If it's someone that they want in the summer becomes available in January, then they might push that deal ahead because it's the player that they want. But they're not going to bring in, let's say, for example, Conor Gallagher, if it means that then jeopardizes us going for Elliot Anderson in the summer, for example. And that's the right way to approach it, because far too often we've just bought for the sake of buying a player and then you're having to replace that player again in the future. And all of that stuff is not part of the new regime's plans. They want to sign the right players, sign one and done, basically sign one player, done for the next few years. And then you can assess it in a couple of years' time. If those players don't perform, like I'm sure Manuel Ugarte will be assessed in the summer, based on his performances over the last couple of years, and that will be the same, but you're not constantly having to replace the same players in the same positions, which is fair. The report goes on to say that United boss Ruben Amorim is expected to stay in touch with the Champions League places this season in order to keep his job and then push on next season. The club also have plans to sign another wing-back in one of the windows with a top centre-back on the menu for summer as part of the conditions of not forcing new signings for the sake of it. The likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Manuel Ugarte will likely be kept on for now while a full decision is reached on what happens for them next. So again, suggesting that wing back potentially for the either in January or in the summer. Also centre back as well. So it looks like the positions that we're looking for are starting to take shape. We know it anyway. Midfielders, potentially a centre half, and then maybe a wing back or another striker. That was reported the other day, depending on what happens with Joshua Zirkzee and how Sesko develops in the next few weeks as well. But interesting as well that Kobbie Mainoo and Manuel Ugarte nothing will happen with those in the January transfer window as well. But there's been a lot of noise regarding Mainoo, which we'll just go through next. So this was from Fabrizio Romano saying on a potential loan option for Kobbie Mainoo, because we know, and I'm sure you know as well, unless you've been living under a rock, that there's a lot of questions regarding Kobbie Mainoo and his future and the fact he wants to play football. He's not getting opportunities at United at the moment as well because of the lack of games that we've got. But Romano said that Kobbie would still be open for a loan move in the January transfer window. It now depends on the club and what Ruben Amorim wants to do, because the desire for Amorim would be to keep the same squad. And he went on to say there's interest from West Ham offering a guaranteed starting spot to Kobbie Mainoo. There's interest from Italy, also Napoli, who are looking for a midfielder after the injury to De Bruyne. Mainoo would be one to watch depending on what United decide to do. So Fabrizio Romano is saying, look, that Kobbie's still potentially gonna want to leave and play football in January, but it's down to the club. And going off of the previous report, suggesting that actually, unless we do get him, I think really between the lines, unless one of our top target becomes available, unless Carlos Baleba, if we want to go for him, or Elliot Anderson, or Adam Wharton, or whoever it is, we know the names and the list of names that we're linked with, becomes available in January, United are probably not going to do anything. In which case, if we don't, then Kobbie Mainoo is going to stay, because we still need backup. You still need a cover for injuries and suspensions, and you still need rotation options. You still need a train as well. But if one of them does become available, then maybe there is a one in, one out type thing where we get, Elliot Anderson in, Kobbie Mainoo goes out on loan. That's unlikely, though. I can't see the top targets being available in the January window without us having to overpay massively. And I'm not sure if we're in a financial position where we could do that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't be looking at other areas. If one of our top defenders, if we're looking for a defender, but it's in summer, if that player becomes available in January, maybe they would go for that instead and just flip the script around. It's still one of your priorities. We're still going to sign that player anyway. Like Mark Gahey springs to mind, for example. We were linked with him the other day. Could we do a cheeky bid because he's out of contract in the summer? Could you do a cheeky bid for him in January and then get him ahead of Liverpool or many of the other teams that are going to be looking at him? If that becomes an opportunity, then maybe they would do that rather than the midfield. But again, we'll need to wait and see how it all plays out. But what do you think about Mainoo? I think Amorim in his press conference or in an interview recently has just said that, look, Kobbie Mainoo's training really well, but he can only pick two players for that position. And unfortunately, the players playing in front of him are doing really well, i.e., Bruno, isn't it? It's Bruno that's competing with Mainoo. We knew that from the start of the season. He sees it as Bruno and Mainoo for that sort of more attacking midfield role, and then Casemiro and Ugarte for the more defensive position. At the moment, Bruno's Bruno, isn't he? He's not going to, he's not getting dropped, even though he's had a couple of bad performances this season. But generally speaking, he's been, okay in that midfield position, and he's not going to get dropped, is he? So it's just a shame that Mainoo's competing with a player like Bruno Fernandes that's never injured, never misses a game, never suspended or anything like that. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? But yeah, that's what it seems like's going on at the moment. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that, as I'm sure you will, in the comments below. Now, there is another midfielder, though, that we have been linked with, which would be a really interesting option, actually, in Joao Gomes. Again, this is coming from Dean Jones, saying that Joao Gomes is likely to become an option for bigger Premier League clubs as Wolves continue to struggle this season, Team Talk can reveal. The Molineux outfit are bottom of the Premier League and have not won a league game yet and are struggling to appoint a new manager after sacking Victor Pereira on the back of last weekend's 3-0 defeat to Fulham. Gomez, 24, is an important member of the side, but would clearly not hang around if his side are relegated. Sources have indicated that Wolves may even face a fight to hold on to him in January if other top-flight clubs sense an opportunity to make the most of their difficult situation. But it is very unlikely he will be allowed to leave midway through the season. Manchester United and Tottenham are two of the clubs who have had a close look at him previously, while Aston Villa and Liverpool have been mooted as holding interest. Now, that would be an interesting shout. Joao Gomes from Wolves saying in the report, probably still not going to be available in January. But who knows? Maybe the player might want to leave or agitate for a move. We've heard those stories the other day around maybe players would have to agitate for a move or and so on. Joao Gomez, that would be for me like a more of a Casemiro replacement, because if we look at the comparison here between Joao Gomez and Casemiro, very similar in terms of their sort of outputs. When you look at the key passes, very similar, progressive passes, duels, possession one. Joao Gomez is a little bit better at carrying the ball, more forward passes as well. So in terms of like a profile of player, if you wanted somebody that's a very similar play style or got very similar numbers anyway in terms of winning the ball and winning duels, winning possession, forward passes, all of that, to Casemiro, who's had another lease of life at the moment, is doing well. Then Joao Gomez wouldn't be a bad shout, looking at the numbers and the stats. And if you could get him, again, it's just whether they see him as one of their priority targets or not. If they do, could we do a cheeky bid in January for someone like Joao Gomez? If he's, like I said, if he agitates for a move to get out of Wolves, plausible. Keep an eye on that one for you. It was interesting, though, because the Muppeteers has been mentioning a lot about Joao Gomez. And sometimes the Muppeteers is quite sneaky where he's heard something, but he won't come out and directly say it as well. So that may be one to pay attention to. But give us your thoughts and feelings on Joao Gomez in the comments below. I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't be against it at all. I think he's a good Premier League proven. Tick a lot of the boxes of what we're looking for maybe that number 6 role as well. Can also probably maybe play a bit more box to box as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be against doing that. That's for sure. So, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. There's been some more noise regarding Joshua Zirkzee's possible exit. So Sevilla are preparing a January loan offer for Joshua Zirkzee with coach Mateus Almeida identifying him as the primary target. The club intends to position him as a key player, contribute to his salary and present an attractive bid, having already initiated preliminary discussions, while Real Betis remain in contention. And that came from a Spanish journalist that's quite close to Sevilla as well, suggesting that maybe Sevilla have seen looking at Joshua Zirkzee as a potential January deal. Again, I think this is one that could still be plausible, but it depends on AFCON and whether if he doesn't get any minutes and Mbeumo and Ahmad and Mazraoui are gone to AFCON, and then I think the writing would be on the wall for Joshua Zirkzee personally. And Fabrizio Romano, though, said that Joshua Zirkzee has still not presented an official request to Man United to go on loan. He's still focused on United. West Ham are looking for a striker, and Zirkzee is on their shortlist. Roma are also calling for his situation. Zirkzee behaving as a top professional, similar to Kobbie Mainoo. So again, at this moment in time, Joshua Zirkzee has not put in any sort of loan request or exit request to United, being professional, but West Ham potentially looking at him. I think Romano did say that West Ham were potentially looking at Kobbie Mainoo as well. But yeah, it's whether the club are going to want to release these players. I know it's sad for them because they're not getting the game time, and this was always going to be the problem with no European football, and then an early Carabao Cup exit as well. Thanks, Andrea Onana, for that one. It's always going to be the issue, wasn't it? Because we do have players that have international football aspirations, just not getting enough minutes because there's not enough games to go around. And then when you're winning games or when you're performing better, it's hard to justify rotating the squad or rotating the team that much. And obviously, we've been on a good run of games recently, as shown at the start with Mbeumo and Amrin winning player and manager of the month as well. I've been on a bit of a good run, so it's difficult to justify, isn't it? Because if you're winning games, Amram's right. It's when we were losing the games though, and players weren't performing particularly well, but they were kept getting picked. that's when it became an issue, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Interestingly, though, if we do let Zirkzee go, then are we going to be looking at like a striker? Because there was some rumorings or murmurings around, possibly getting in another striker. One name that's been doing the rounds a little bit at the moment is Vitor Roque. So Man United are reportedly keen on Palmeiras striker Vitor Roque, who has revived his career in Brazil. The 20-year-old returned to the Brazilian side in February from Barcelona for £22 million, making him the most expensive transfer fee paid in South America in football history. Spanish outlet Sport has claimed that Roque would be open to a new adventure. However, Barcelona have a 20% sell-on clause in Roque's deal. So now this is a player actually that we have been. I'm sure we made a bid for him as well before we went to Barcelona. So this is a player that there's interest at from United in the past. I don't know whether that would be viable in January, though, and especially if Barcelona have a 20% sell-on clause for him. But there are a few other stories as well during the round, one coming from South America as well, saying that Manchester United are considering a move for Palmeiras striker Vitor Roque. According to reports in Brazil, a Globo claims the Red Devils are pondering making another bid for Roque, who has been compared to Luis Suarez in the past. United have previously offered £29 million for the forward. I thought we did bid for him before. Who has 16 goal contributions this season, but it was rejected. It's understood Palmeiras are demanding £42 million for his services. In February, the Brazilian heavyweights forked out £21 million to sign him from Barcelona. The Catalans hold a 20% sell-on clause, meaning the Brazilians would need a substantial sum to make, if they are to make profits. So that's a name doing the rounds again. Are doing the rounds at the moment from like Spanish reports and South American reports as well. I think that may be £42 million in January. I think, again, it's going to be one of these. If he's seen as a top target or somebody that they do want to bring in, then anything's plausible in January if they're available. But and there has been clear interest before we went to Barcelona. We made a bid for him. I'm sure we were competing with Barcelona for him. So there is obviously scouts or people at the club. Well, they might not still be here now, actually, because everyone's lost their job, haven't they? And we've got like a new scouting network or whatever. But yeah, whether he's still a name that's going to be on our list, we'll have to wait and see. But give us your thoughts, Vitor Roque. Good shout. If Zirkzee goes, Roque in. Wouldn't be against it. Wouldn't be against that. It's just whether we've got the budget or the appetite to strengthen in that area. I would worry personally, though, about the fact it didn't make it at Barcelona. And then I'm sure there was reports at the time, because we were linked with him a bit when he was at Barcelona as well. Was his agent not coming out saying stuff around his minutes and kicking off and stuff? And that was a big red flag for me at the time. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing those stories. I might be wrong. Let me know if I am in the comments. But it was a bit of a red flag for me when you're hearing like agents coming out all the time criticizing the lack of minutes and all of that. I just think that's noise we could do without. So that would be a bit of a potential red flag for me personally. But yeah, tell us your opinions in the comments below. Now, this is a really interesting story, actually. So this is coming from, so I read this firstly in the Manchester Evening News. So TBR Football have reported that Manchester United and a number of top teams are scouting RB Leipzig star Yan Diomande. So this is coming from Graham Bailey saying Diomande is the one everyone is talking about and looking at. He really is special. I am told Red Bull think he could be their greatest prospect since Erling Haaland. Leipzig say there is no release clause and already he is being talked about in the £88 million category. From what I am hearing from scouts and clubs, there is not a player currently in Europe who has clubs more excited. Could he have a third club third club in 18 months come next summer? It's not beyond the realms of possibilities. So this kid actually looks, I've not watched a ton of him, did some quick research, watched his highlight, actually looks really, really good. In the report itself, it's quite interesting. So RB Leipzig's newest star, Yan Diomande, is on the radar for plenty of Premier League teams after an impressive start to life in the Bundesliga. TBR Football understands that Diomande is being scouted by Premier League giants such as Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Man United and Tottenham. And then it goes on to say Jurgen Klopp, who is head of global soccer for the Red Bull Group, believes Diomande is one of the best young talents in the world, comparable to the talent they had at Salzburg with Erling Haaland. They play in different positions, so the Erling Haaland link is not because they're similar in play styles or anything. It's just the fact that Erling Haaland was that good, and they see this guy as that good. And that's where the comparisons come to Erling Haaland. Really interesting report as well. So he's 18-year-old forward, obviously playing for RB Leipzig now. We know that we would have the connection with Christopher Vival. He's a left winger, stronger on his right foot, allowing him to cut in size and cause problems for defenders. He's from the Ivory Coast. And then it goes on at the end. TBR Football understands that Premier League clubs have been watching Yan Diomande's progress at RB Leipzig, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Man United and Tottenham have all been keeping an eye on the star so far. They are joined by European giants such as Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. There is no clause in Diomande's deal with €100 million or £88 million being touted as a potential price point for the future. Looks a real talented player. Does look really good, really interesting. 18 years old as well. If you look at his sort of numbers, not bad. They are not bad at all. In the top 1% for progressive carries, successful take-ons, top 95 for touches in the attack on penalty area, 99 for interceptions as well, shot creating actions, 91. Like, at 18-year-old, he's absolutely bossing it. So no wonder they're talking about him so highly. £88 million is a massive outlay for somebody like that. Whether we could do, a little Christopher Vival deal or something like we did with Benjamin Sesko, where we actually got him for less than what Newcastle were bidding for him because of the relationship. Or we not do like a friend? We're doing like a friendly or something like that with them as well as part of that deal. Obviously, Christopher Vival will have the connections there as well. So that's one to pay attention to and to keep an eye on. And it's the sort of player that I keep saying that I think we're missing as well, the sort of profile. Yes, we know we need defenders, wing-backs, midfielders, massively importantly, but I do think we need that little bit of flair, that little bit of somebody that can, drive at players as well. I don't know whether he could play left wing back as well. I mean, he looks like a unit, and with his defensive output as well, maybe that wouldn't be a bad shout to bring him in as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings. Really exciting. Looks like a really interesting profile of player. But give us your shouts on that in the comments below. And there's been let's go through a couple of the other last little bits really quickly. So Liverpool, Manchester United are both keeping tabs on German wonderkid Kenneth Icon, who Hertha Berlin are willing to let go for £17 million. Icon, 16, is making waves in Berlin after breaking into Hertha's first team this season. Defensive midfielder. Apparently all the other big teams, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSG, everyone's looking at him. This is coming from German publication Bild as well, saying that Hertha have already told interested parties that they'd consider an offer worth €20 million to £70 million. Icon has got his chance in the first team because of injuries, but he's managed to keep his place thanks to a string of impressive performances. And it goes on to say that Icon signed a new contract in July and has earned comparison to ex-German star Toni Kroos. So another young player that we have been linked with, but I always have issues with their age around that, because 16 years old, £17 million for a 16-year-old, firstly, that's a massive amount of money. We can't sign him anyway until he's 18, so that would be a big, expensive outlay where we would have to loan him back as well, because we can't do anything because of Brexit rules. If you look at all the young players that we have signed or done pre-agreements with, like a Roscoe, for example, he's going to be 18 by the time the summer comes. The same with Diego Leon. We did an agreement in like January, wasn't it? January, February time. And then he came when he was 18 as well. Because of Brexit rules, it limits us to signing these players from overseas. Does, seems like an interesting player. I've not watched any of him or done anything regarding that, so I'm no expert when it comes to him. But the report was reading, he's being compared to Toni Kroos at 16 years old, and he's got himself into the first team thanks to injuries, and now he's staying in the first team as well. Clearly a good talent, but one I'm not entirely convinced on because of that reason I just mentioned, because of his age and, massive amount of money for a 16-year-old, £17 million personally. But give us your shouts in the comments below if you know more about the player. And then the final story I've got for you is another young player. So Manchester United interested in signing River Plate winger Philip Esquivel. The 17-year-old recently scored an impressive winner over Belgium in the Under-17 World Cup in front of the United scouts. Christopher Vival is a huge admirer of his game. And again, that came from Graham Bailey. Graham Bailey is someone that's like hit and miss, but he does get things like this, like scouting reports and, the younger sort of profile of players that United are looking at this player or this player and so on and so forth. But not the most credible source of information, but again, that's probably more realistic than the kid before because of his age. So 17 years old, he'll be coming up to 18. So maybe you can do a deal like we did with the Roscoe, where he can come in when he turns 18 as well. Again, not a player that I've watched a ton of. Looks pretty tricky as a little winger, but again, I don't really have an issue with United going for these sort of players, because I think they're doing it quite well. I think the players that we're bringing in at that sort of 18 and under age group, all have a lot of potential and are all very well scouted. So Christopher Vivell is doing his job when it comes to getting in certain players like that, in my opinion. But again, give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.